Hello, my name is Liza Elise, or Caffeine Missouri, and today, in my quest to catch up on a bunch of the deck profiles I just haven't done because of my hiatus, because I was on break, I think I'm going to be talking about one of the lyrical decks that got some support in the most recent lyrical set at time of recording, that I happen to really like this deck, and I'm glad I got some pieces. That being Gorgon's Siana. Siana is a very defensive deck innately, which we'll get into with the auto that all three of the ones you'll actually be fighting with have. And it mainly focuses on reducing your opponent's hand size, making them guard a lot more, and making them lose some of their rear guards. But without further ado, let's get into the list. First off, I've got the grade 0 Siana, all warmed up Siana, which that is going to be relevant for one of our main rear guards. Then I've got the grade 1 second snake Sapitian Siana. We've got the archetypal auto that all three Sianas going forward, including this one, are going to have. That at the end of the battle, she was attacked by a rear guard. As long as you did not place anything on the Guardian Circle, your opponent chooses a card from their hand, and either they discard it, or they bind the unit that attacked. And when she's Rotocon by a grade 2 with Siana's card name, by Soul Blasting 1, you draw a card and you return all of their front row rear guards to the hand. Our grade 2 Siana does have that same skill, and when she's Rotocon by a grade 3 Siana, you get to pick a trigger or Blitzword from drop and put it to hand. And lastly, we've got Gorgonized Siana, who has that same end of the battle when attacked by a rearguard skill, along with an auto that when she's attacked, you can put a trigger from hand to soul and she'll gain 15k for that battle. So functionally a repeatable blitz order by tossing a trigger into soul. You're not putting anything on Guardian Circle for that. And as long as the opponent's Guardian Circle and front row have a total of 2 or less units, she's going to gain an extra critical and drive. So by the binding and some other units that we'll get into shortly, you're going to be a 2 crit 3 drive deck base. Going to our grade 3s, we're only on one grade 3, that being the 4 copies of the brand new Gorgon Gift Siana, who is a dress up for Gorgonized Siana. That means when you just normal ride over her, that will trigger Persona Ride. And when she is placed from riding from Gorgonized Siana, you get to check the top 5 cards of your hand, reveal one. If it's a unit card with grade less than equal to your Vanguard, you call it. And if it's a Blitz order, you get to add to hand. Other than that, she has that same continuous that as long as the opponent's front row and Guardian Circle have a combined 2 or less unit cards, she gains crit and drive +1. And at the end of the turn, you re-ride into Gorgonized Siana from Soul as rest. This is one of the main pieces I really like about the deck. It gives it a bit more offense. It lets you do a deck that a bit more in a very controlled way. It's a way to put more pressure on. But along with that, along with the binding rear guards, you're going to get a lot of units like Dazzling Pair of Stars in hand, Aster, who, when she's placed on the rear guard circle, well, you get to pick one of your opponent's rear guards and just bounce it to hand. Then you can Soul Blast a card with Siana's card name or a trigger unit, and you'll gain 5 for every one of your opponent's open front row rear guard circles. Along with that, when your grade 3 Siana attacks, you can counterblast 1 to restand her as long as your opponent has no front row rear guards. So like I said, the in-name Siana does actually come up, and there are other ways to put cards into Soul early. It's not often that it comes up, but it can. Continuing on with our grade 2 regards, though, we're also on 1 copy of Ratfish Runner Juno, who, as a once per turn act, by Soul Blasting a card, you can bounce away your opponent's front rows to hand, and if you Soul Blast a trigger, she's going to gain an extra 10 for the turn and give Siana an extra 10. Rounding out our units for grade 2, we're on 4 copies of 70 Hughes Bridge Lucio, who, when placed on rear from hand or discarded to ride, as long as you are on a Vanguard with a Persona Ride icon or you can reveal one, you can Soul Blast 1 to get a Persona Shields ticket, which, as a reminder, they are blitz orders that give the attack unit 10k, allow you to play a second blitz order that turn, will give your Vanguard an extra 5 on top if they have something other than the energy generator. To go ahead and round out our grade 2s, going into the blitz orders of the deck, I'm on 3 copies of Still Knocked, which has 2 skills. Either gives 10k to the attack unit until end of the battle, 20k if it's a rear guard, or if an attack hit the Vanguard this turn, so you took a damage, it'll give plus 30. And, of course, the regardless piece of choice for the deck is going to be Protection Twin-Cast, another blitz order, which, when played as a blitz order, gives 10k to the attacking unit, and it can be removed from the drop zone to choose the unit being attacked and give it 5k for each of its grades. Moving into our grade 1s, we are on 4 copies of Build a Snowman Waiero, which is going to be one of your most important combo pieces of the deck. As an act from drop, as long as you don't control a Waiero, you can EB3 to call her and give her an extra 2k. And if you have a Vanguard whose original card name is Gorgon Siana, you can burn a soul to Superior Ride a Gorgon Gift Siana from deck. And if you didn't normal ride during the ride phase or activate Persona Ride, you Persona Ride. This is the Superior Rider similar to like Imigrar for Ava, so that you can immediately get into your Gorgon Gift. I've got 2 copies of Secret Maiden Poem Liveronk, who on play is going to give Siana Vanguard. You can counterblast 1 to Soul Charge 1, then you get to take a card from Soul Toss into hand. And if you have, when your Vanguard with Siana's card name is attacked for 3 energy and shoving her into Soul, she gives an extra 15k to the Siana. So she's another way to guard the opponent's attacks without guarding. Rounding out the in-archetype cards for Siana, I'm on 4 copies of Breath Melting to White Renin, who, when placed on rearguard circle, you get to pick one of your opponent's rear guards and put it to hand. If you don't choose a card, you are allowed to Soul Charge 1. And when your Siana attacks, you can burn a soul to draw a card if your opponent's front row has no rear guards. And if you Persona Road and you don't have a rear guard that stood during the battle phase, she'll restand 1/2. So she is functionally like Rochelle and Chris Rain, but locked behind the Persona Ride turn. Still got a few more units for our grade 1s, mainly being 3 copies of Cooling Heart Yuika, who has a once per turn skill that when a unit is placed in front of her, if the opponent's Vanguard's on grade 3, she'll gain 5k. And at the end of the battle, she boosts the rear guard. You can Soul Blast 1 to bounce that boosted rear guard. Of course, we're on PGs. I'm choosing to do 4 regular PGs so that we can maximize how many blitz orders we have access to. You can definitely play a Sanct Student and benefit off that, though. I'm on 7 regular criticals to start my trigger lineup. I'm also on 4 copies of the guard draws. The reason I'm on the draw triggers is because this deck is very combo-oriented. It very much needs to see its pieces for its combat turns. And you're not actually losing out on a guard value with it because it's functionally a soul front because you're on the Siana because of Siana's skill. Continuing on, I'm on 4 regular heals. You could definitely do 2 and 2 of the counter heals. That's not a bad option. I just don't own those. And my OT of choice for Siana, there is no debate on the best OT for this deck. It is, of all things, Spiritual King of Bright Sky Meridzombia, who, when draw check, is going to draw you a card for every pair of open circles for your opponent's rearguard circles and guardian circles. Then it's going to retire all of your opponent's guardian circles. The reason that's really good is the Gorgon Gifts drive and crit is a continuous. So the moment it is hitting that condition, it is getting the extra drive again. So if your first drive check, you wipe, your opponent had thrown down 3 guards, you wipe it, they may have put a perfect guard still and didn't want the extra drive check, but you're getting that drive check again. And because of the way the deck works, this is also always a +2 minimum. Now to go into the pros and cons of the deck. 1, the deck is really good at eating at your opponent's resources over an extended game. You're always forcing your opponent to discard or bind when they try to hit your rear guard, or hit your vanguard with the rear guard. You're always going to have a lot of extra guard. Your soul is never going to run out, really. So you always have those cards to make use of in soul. You're not going to, like, just suddenly be out. Along with that, Gorgon Gift Siana really fixes one of the main issues with the deck, that being that it doesn't really have a lot of... It didn't really have a lot of aggression before. Before this most recent set, the only, in my opinion, aggressive piece that wasn't easily countered is the fact that you have a multi-attacker and the triple drive that's easily just throw 3 cards to guard. And the cons of the deck, it really does need the Gorgon Gift Siana hit to kind of bring things together for the more aggressive push turns. It's really important that you see her, so the Y arrows are super important. Soul charting it with Leveronk kind of sucks a little bit because you're not going to be able to rip it off deck with a Y arrow, but that's not that bad. And all of that, the individual numbers on these units don't actually get that big. You're getting +10 from Juno, Aster gives herself +10, Y arrow could be a 10k booster, +5 for the Yuika. These numbers don't actually get that big, so while you're eating at your opponent's resources, that is very true, you're kind of just poking them with a stick, and what you really need in this format with how many defensive pieces there are is a sledgehammer. But that is my Siana list. If you guys like the video, you like listening to me ramble, you want to keep doing that, go ahead and do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. Ciao.